Indian Councils Act 1909. So Indian Councils Act 1909, you have to remember two important points about this act, one positive and one negative. Right? There is one positive about 1909 Councils Act and there is one negative. What is the positive? The positive is, for the first time, an Indian was taken into the Viceroy's Executive Council. Right? For the first time, an Indian was appointed to the Viceroy's Executive Council. So if you remember, Viceroy used to have an Executive Council and a Legislative Council. That Executive Council was created in the Act 1784. And that Legislative Council was created in the Act 1853, Charter Act 1853. Right? Charter Act 1853, for the first time, a council called Legislative Council was created for the Governor General. So that was being carried forward from then. However, Indians were not taken into this Executive Council. Right? Executive Council is nothing but the present day cabinet ministers. Right? The present day ministers. So into that council, Indians were not taken. But for the first time in the Indian Councils Act 1909, an Indian was appointed to the Viceroy's Executive Council. His name is Satyendra Sinha. Satyendra Sinha. Right? His name is Satyendra Sinha. So this is something positive about 1909 Indian Councils Act. Now what was the negative? The negative of this act is, for the first time, separate electorates were given for the Muslims. Separate electorates were given for the Muslims for the first time in this 1909 Indian Councils Act. Right? So this is something which is a negative. Right? So in this way, we can remember that there is one positive and one negative about 1909 Indian Councils Act. And what is the other name for this Indian Councils Act 1909? Morley-Minto Reforms. Morley-Minto Reforms. So 1909 Indian Councils Act is also known as Morley-Minto Reforms. 1919 Government of India Act is known as Montagu-Chelmsford Reforms. Right? Montagu-Chelmsford Reforms. And Government of India Act 1935 is important for us because most of the provisions in the present day Indian Constitution were borrowed from this 1935 Government of India Act. Right? That's why it is important. So this is about 1909 Indian Councils Act, guys. Similarly, we have 1861 and 1892 Councils Acts. Right? Please refer those also. Right? So 1773 it starts. And then in 1784, we have Pitt's India Act, that is important. Then 1813 Charter Act, that is important. Then 1833 Charter Act, that is important. Then 1853, right? Then after First War of Independence, then an act called Good Government Act was passed by British in 1858, right? With that act only, Governor General position was removed and Viceroy. Right, viceroyship started from then. Lord Canning was the first viceroy. After that, we had 1861 Councils Act, 1892 Councils Act, 1909 Councils Act, 1919 Government of India Act, 1935 Government of India Act, and 1947 the last act for independence. This is the chronology, guys, and try to remember the important features. Right, one trend which you can observe is from 1773. From the Charter Act 1773, right, you can see centralization increasing. From 1773 towards 1773 to 1853 Charter Act, what you can see is, as the Charter Acts were coming, centralization was increasing. But after the First War of Independence, we had 1861 Councils Act, 1892 Councils Act, right, 1909, 1919, 1935. The trend you can see is decentralization will be increasing. The trend you can see is decentralization will be increasing from 1861 Councils Act till the 1947 Act. Right? You can see decentralization increasing. And from 1773 till the 1853, you can't see Indian representation in the East India Company government. You cannot see Indian representation till 1853. Only after First War of Independence, they felt that if Indians are given the representation in administration, then their nationalist demands can be reduced. So that's why Indianness in administration, Indianness in elections, right? Indianness in councils will increase, right? That's why Indianness, that is representation of Indians in the councils, will start increasing from 1861 Act. Slowly official majority, non-official majority, all these will be gradually brought from 1861 to 1935 Act, right? In 1861 councils were created, but voting powers were not there for the Indians who are the members of the councils, right? They cannot even discuss anything in the according to 1861 Act, Councils Act, right? They cannot discuss anything, they cannot question anything. But slowly as the acts have passed on, right, budget making powers were given, budget discussing powers were given, supplementary questions asking powers were given, right? Slowly decentralization happened, provincial autonomy was given in 1935 Act, right? For the first time, union budget and province budget, the difference or separation was done in 1919 Government of India Act. A federal court was established in 1935 Government of India Act, right? So decentralization increased, and also voting powers were given, although not universal adult suffrage, but voting powers were given. So gradually we can see freedoms being given more and decentralization happening more, right? So these trends are useful for us to eliminate options, guys, to eliminate options. If they have given any Charter Act 1773 or 1784 and they have said that Indians were represented in so and so councils, then that is wrong, right? So broadly we can eliminate options like this. And Simon Commission, we have discussed this yesterday, right? Did all the Congress parties boycott Simon Commission? No. Congress party has boycotted the Simon Commission, but we had other parties at that time, such as Unionist Party in Punjab, and Justice Party of Madras, which have welcomed Simon Commission, So if there is a statement saying Simon Commission, the all white men commission, was boycotted by all the political parties in India, then that is wrong statement. There were some parties at that time which have welcomed the Simon Commission. So this is one area where they can ask. And 1916 Congress session, guys. 1916 Congress session. Why is 1916 Congress session important? Because in this 1916 Congress session, which happened in Lucknow, Muslim League and Indian National Congress came together. Lucknow Congress session. That is one reason. And the second reason is moderates and extremists. Right? Moderates and extremists. When did they split? They split in 1907 Surat session. Right? After 1907, they were not working together. But in 1916 Lucknow Congress session, moderates and extremists also came together. Right? Moderates and extremists also came together. Two famous people who played a major role in bringing moderates and extremists together are Annie Besant and Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So these were the two reasons why this 1916 Lucknow Congress session is important for us. Right? Because INC and Muslim League came together, and also moderates and extremists came together. So who was the president for this 1916 Lucknow Congress session? It is Ambika Charan Mazumdar. This is an important session, guys, right? In the NCERT also you can see this some lines about this issue, about this event, and even in Spectrum also you can see detailed explanation about this event. Because of this event, because of INC and Muslim League coming together, so the British saw the chances of high risk of unity in the Indians. So that's why they have brought 1919 Government of India Act. saying that they will give responsible government at the center and the provinces, because they have feared that this unity might be a rebellion against British rule. They have come up with responsible government through Government of India Act 1919. As soon as the Britishers said that they were coming up with 1919 Government of India Act, Home Rule movement lost its heat. We have discussed yesterday what is Home Rule movement. It is basically to generate awareness among the mass people about economic exploitation of the Britishers and about political freedoms, about Swaraj. Who were the two people who played a major role in this? Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant. Both of them started their own home rule movements in different parts of the country. So after this Lucknow session happened in 1960. So the same people, Annie Besant and Bal Gangadhar Tilak, they have done home rule movement, and then they have also united moderates and extremists. At the same time, INC and Muslim League also came together. So this is a major problem for the Britishers. That's why what they have did, they have told they'll come up with 1919 Government of India Act. As soon as the declaration was given, the home rule movement lost its fire. The home rule movement lost its heat, right? So even you can see in the spectrum, or even in Bipin Chandra, there is a line saying that that declaration by the Britishers that 1919 Government of India Act will be passed, that declaration was a major setback for the home rule movement. That was a major setback for the home rule movement. So that is important. And 1907 Surat split session, right? Why did that happen? Bengal was partitioned in 1905, right? Bengal was partitioned in 1905. Who was responsible, or who was the viceroy at that time when Bengal partition happened? It was Curzon. It was Lord Curzon who was the viceroy when Bengal partition happened. Why did they partition Bengal? They have partitioned Bengal because, as we have discussed, United Provinces, Bengal Province and Bombay Province, these are the hubs for independence movements, right? These were the major areas of operation for the revolutionaries also. That's why Britishers want to divide this Bengal on communal lines, on Hindu majority and Muslim majority. Based on that way, they wanted to divide it. However, they did not say the reason explicitly. What was the reason mentioned by Lord Curzon regarding partition of Bengal? Administrative feasibility, right? For convenience of administration, because Bengal province is too big to administer, we have divided the Bengal into two. This was the reason officially given by the Britishers when they have partitioned the Bengal, right? However, this was done to break the unity in the independence movement. This was done to break the unity in the independence movement. Now, what followed after the partition of Bengal? After the partition of Bengal, we can see anti-partition movement starting up, right? People were not happy with the decision of Britishers. So that's why what people have done, anti-partition movement. This anti-partition movement, people were celebrating festivals together, right? They were celebrating Hindu festival and they were celebrating Muslim festival also. And we can see Rabindranath Tagore writing a famous song called Amar Sona Bangla, right? That is now the national anthem for a country. That was written by Rabindranath Tagore at that time, right? All such activities were done to promote the unity among different religions in the Bengal region. And slowly that anti-partition movement got converted into Swadeshi movement. Now, who were majorly contributing to this? It was the extremists. It was the extremists who played a major role in converting this anti-partition movement into Swadeshi movement. Aurobindo Ghosh, right? Lal Bal Pal and Swadeshi and Aurobindo Ghosh. So these were majorly responsible for converting this anti-partition movement into a broader thing, right? So anti-partition was only about Bengal partition, but Swadeshi is something broader than that. It is about boycotting British goods. It's about promoting Indianness, right? So in that way, it became a big movement called Swadeshi movement. Now here came the problem. Extremists wanted to extend this Swadeshi movement to all the parts of India. But moderates wanted to confine this Swadeshi movement to Bengal region. Right? They don't want to make it a pan-India movement. They don't want to make it a pan-India movement, and they want to confine it. That is, they want to limit the Swadeshi movement to anti-partition movement. Here a conflict happened, a clash happened between moderates and extremists. And finally in the 1907 Surat session, moderates and extremists have split. And this is called Surat split. Right? So this is the story behind Surat split, guys. Right? And as soon as Surat split happened, after 1 year, Bal Gangadhar Tilak was arrested. Right? He was arrested, and almost for 6 years he was kept in the prison. So from 1908 till 1914, I guess. After that, Bal Gangadhar Tilak was released and he started Home Rule movement. And after Home Rule movement, he realized without the help of moderates, it is difficult. That's why in 1916, he played a major role in uniting moderates and extremists. That is 1916 Lucknow Congress session, which we have discussed just now. So try to connect things and study, guys. It will be easy for you. Now, who is the president for 1907 Congress session? Surat split session. Right? It is Raj Bihari Ghosh. Raj Bihari Ghosh. Don't get confused with Raj Bihari Bose. Raj Bihari Bose is a revolutionary. Raj Bihari Ghosh is not a revolutionary. Right? He is a different person. Raj Bihari Ghosh. Ghosh. He is the president for 1907 Surat split session. And another interesting point here is regarding INC. The place where the session has to be held has a specific rule. What is that? If the Congress session is happening in Bombay province, let's say it's happening in Bombay province, then the local person should not be the president of that session. Right? There is a rule like that. So that rule was also a major issue between moderates and extremists. Right? That was also a major issue between moderates and extremists. Try to find out why it was an issue. Right? The rule is basically, if the place at which the Congress session is being held, local people from that place are not eligible for becoming the presidents. So such a rule is there. So just take note of that rule also. And the next topic is Muslim League. Muslim League. When was it formed? In the year 1906. It was formed around in the year 1906. Now, who was the founder of Muslim League? It is not Jinnah. This we have to know. Right? It is not Muhammad Ali Jinnah. It is Aga Khan. Agakhan. Aga Khan. Aga Khan, and another person is Nawab Salimullah. Nawab Salimullah. So these two were the founders of Muslim League. Right? And where was it formed? It was formed in Dhaka. DECCA, the present Dhaka region. Right? Dhaka. DECCA. This was formed after the partition of Bengal. This was formed after partition of Bengal. And this Muslim League founders are Aga Khan and Nawab Salimullah. And this we have to know. And we have already discussed women Congress presidents. Who were the 3 women Congress presidents? Annie Besant in the year 1917, right? And who is the next one? Sarojini Naidu. We'll also see the foreigner Congress presidents, right? Foreigner Congress presidents, just like the women Congress presidents. We'll try to see the foreigner Congress presidents also. George Yule, 1888. William Wedderburn, 1889. Alfred Webb, 1894. Alfred Webb, 1894. Henry Cotton, 1904. Henry Cotton, 1904. And Annie Besant, 1917. Annie Besant, 1917. I'll repeat it. George Yule, 1888. William Wedderburn, 1889. Alfred Webb, 1894. Henry Cotton, 1904. and Annie Besant 1917. So these are the foreigner Congress presidents, right? So if any other person's name is given and it is said that he was the Congress president, then we should eliminate that option, right? If not, you remember all the names exactly, at least have a rough idea. And Lord Dufferin was the viceroy when the Congress has formed. When was the Congress formed? In 1885. And who was the viceroy at that time? Lord Dufferin. 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 And Dadabhai Nauroji. He is one of the moderate. Right? He is one of the moderates. And he is also known as Grand Old Man of India. Right? Dadabhai Nauroji is known as Grand Old Man of India. And he also wrote a book called Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Right? Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. So this book was written by Dadabhai Nauroji. Why did he write that? He wrote that book to explain the drain of wealth concept. Drain of wealth. What was this drain of wealth? This is nothing but the economic exploitation by the Britishers. So to bring out the economic exploitation by the Britishers, Dadabhai Nauroji has wrote this book, Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Right? The concept drain of wealth was introduced by Dadabhai Nauroji. Right? Drain of wealth. This was already asked in one of the prelims papers, guys, by the UPSC. Right? Drain of wealth introduced by Dadabhai Nauroji. Right? And he was the president of 1906 Congress session. He was the president of 1906 Congress session, which was held in Calcutta. Right? There's an interesting story behind this also. So in 1906, on one side, moderates were demanding to confine the Swadeshi movement. On the other hand, extremists wanted to broaden the Swadeshi movement to different parts of India, right from 1906 itself. So in 1906, extremists wanted to make one of them as the leader or the president for INC. On the other hand, moderates wanted to make one of them as the president for INC. Right? Then what they have done? They have made Dadabhai Nauroji as the president. Right? Because he is the grand old man of India. Right? So even extremists have given respect to Dadabhai Nauroji and have agreed him as the president of INC. So this is a small story, guys, behind 1906 Calcutta Congress session. And Lord Curzon was in India from 1889 to 1905. 1889 to 1905. Right? He was the one who is behind this partition of Bengal. He has introduced some important legislations. First one is Ancient Monuments Act. Ancient Monuments Act 1904. This was introduced by Lord Curzon. Right? Ancient Monuments Act 1904. And under this Ancient Monuments Act only, Archaeological Survey of India was established. Right? Under this Ancient Monuments Act 1904. This was created during the time of Lord Curzon. Second thing is Calcutta Corporation Act. In 1899. Calcutta Corporation Act. Now, why is this important? This is important because previous to Lord Curzon, who was the viceroy? It was Ripon. Right? Previous to Curzon, it was Lord Ripon who was the viceroy. And Lord Ripon has contributed very much for empowering the local bodies. So Lord Ripon has increased elected Indian members' representation in Calcutta Municipal Corporation. Right? Till then, British officials were dominating these municipal corporations. But what did Lord Ripon do? Lord Ripon has passed a legislation which increased the number of Indians in the Calcutta Municipal Corporation. But what did Lord Curzon do, who came after Ripon? He has again reduced the number of Indians in the Calcutta Municipal Corporation. Right? So with this Calcutta Corporation Act, Lord Curzon has again reduced the number of Indians, the number of elected Indians in the Calcutta Municipal Corporation. Right, so this is Calcutta Corporation Act. And the third thing is Indian Official Secrets Act. Indian Official Secrets Act 1904. That was also passed during the time of Lord Curzon. Right, Indian Official Secrets Act 1904. That was also passed during the time of Lord Curzon. Right, and fourth one is Indian Universities Act 1904. Indian Universities Act 1904. That was also passed during the time of Lord Curzon. So this Indian Universities Act 1904 is based on which commission's recommendations? Rayleigh Commission. Right? Yesterday we have discussed about it. Rayleigh Commission. Based on that Rayleigh Commission, this Indian Universities Act 1904 was passed. What was this for? To improve the status of educational universities in India. To improve the education system in India. And Fraser Commission was also set up under Lord Curzon. Right? Fraser Commission. What is this Fraser Commission about? It is about police reforms. It is about police reforms. Fraser Commission. So all these 5 acts, Ancient Monuments Act, Archaeological Survey of India, Calcutta Corporation Act, Indian Official Secrets Act, Indian Universities Act, and Fraser Commission. All these were set up during the time of Lord Curzon. Right? So this we have to know. And another important committee is Hunter Commission. Hunter Commission. What is this Hunter Commission related to? It is related to Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Right? It's related to Jallianwala Bagh massacre. What happened in Jallianwala Bagh massacre? We all know that, right? So after that sad incident, Mahatma Gandhi has given up his title. Right? Previously, Britishers has given Mahatma Gandhi a title called Kaiser-e-Hind. Mahatma Gandhi received a title from Britishers called Kaiser-e-Hind. K-A-I-S-E-R-I-H-I-N-D. Kaiser-e-Hind. Now that title, the Mahatma Gandhi has given it back. Right? He has given it back as a symbol to protest against what happened in Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Right? So after that, Britishers have appointed a committee to look into this Jallianwala Bagh massacre incident. The name of that committee is Disorders Enquiry Committee. Disorders, D-I-S-O-R-D-E-R-S, Disorders Inquiry, I-N-Q-I-R-Y, Disorders Inquiry Committee was appointed by the British government. So this Disorders Inquiry Committee's chairman is Hunter. That's why the name of the commission is Hunter Commission. Right? The chairman for this committee is Lord William Hunter. So that's why the name of the committee is Hunter Commission. Right? So in this, Indians were also there. In this, Indians were also there. This we have to know. Right? This was not like Simon Commission. In this Hunter Committee, even Indians were there. 3 people names are there. Right? First one is Harilal Setalvad. Second one is Jagat Narayan. And third one is Sultan Ahmad Khan. Right? Just remember this much, that some Indians were also given representation in the Hunters Committee. Harijan Sevak Sangh. Social reforms are important, guys, in modern India. So Harijan Sevak Sangh, who was the founder? Mahatma Gandhi was the founder for Harijan Sevak Sangh. The other name for this is All India Anti-Untouchability League. This was given in the 2019 prelims paper. All India Anti-Untouchability League. Similarly, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has also started an organization called Depressed Class Welfare Institute. Right? Depressed Class Welfare Institute. This is the other name for Bahishkrit Hitakarni Sabha. Right? This is the other name for Bahishkrit Hitakarni Sabha. So Bahishkrit Hitakarni Sabha, we all will be knowing that that was an initiative of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. But the other name for this Bahishkrit Hitakarni Sabha is Depressed Class Welfare Institute. Depressed Class Welfare Institute. Right? And this was started by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And famine commissions. Famine commissions. There are 2 commissions which are about famines. Right? During the British rule, we know there were serious famines in the region of Bengal, in the region of Pune, right? So that's why famines commissions are important. The commissions that were appointed on famines. So first one is Strachey Commission, Strachey, Strachey Commission. So this Strachey Commission was appointed by Viceroy Lytton. It was appointed by Viceroy Lytton in the year 1880, right? In the year 1880. And second commission is MacDonald Commission. MacDonald Commission, right? So this is also a commission related to famine. Yeah, the third woman president is Nalini Sengupta, guys, if I am not wrong. Yeah, it is Nalini Sengupta. Yeah. So MacDonald Commission, that is also related to famine commission. And Communist Party of India. So till 1920, we don't see that much of communism in India, right? After 1920s only, communism picked up in India, right? So just remember this so that it will be useful for you to solve any of some questions, right? So after 1920s only, we saw communism rising in India. That is after the First World War. Because from then we started drawing inspiration from USSR, right? We started drawing inspiration from USSR. And this communism was also one of the reasons for socialism, increase of socialism in India, right? Even Jawaharlal Nehru had inclination towards socialism, right? That's why they have formed National Planning Committee. Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru, they have formed National Planning Committee. That's why we had a party called Congress Socialist Party. After civil disobedience movement in 1931, we had Congress Socialist Party. Similarly, trade unions. If you see, one common thing is trade unions, farmer unions, Kisan labor unions, all these increased after 1920s. Almost all the major trade unions of laborers and farmers, you can see they have formed after 1920s. So these trends will be useful for you. It's not that before that we did not had any unions. We had unions, but very less, right? The major unions came in 1920s and 1930s, right? One organization which you have discussed, Swami Sahajananda Saraswati, right? He has formed it, right? So Kisan Union. So that came in the year 1936, Kisan Manifesto, right? 1936. So after 1920s only, labor unions increased. Labor reforms also came after 1920s only, right? So this is one trend which will be useful for us. So Communist Party, when was Communist Party found? Communist Party was formed in the year 1920. Communist Party was formed in the year 1920 by a person named M.N. Roy. By a person named M.N. Roy, right? So M.N. Roy has formed Communist Party of India in the year 1920. In the year 1920. And in the year 1934, Communist Party of India was declared an illegal organization by the British. In 1934, Communist Party of India was declared as an illegal organization by the British. Because based on this communism ideology, some revolutionaries have resorted to violence. That's why. There is a conspiracy. Yesterday we have discussed some conspiracies. Similarly, there is a conspiracy called Kanpur conspiracy case, which also happened in 1920s. Kanpur conspiracy case. So Britishers have used that Kanpur conspiracy case to arrest all the communists. To arrest all the communists, Britishers have used that Kanpur conspiracy case. That also happened in 1920s. Right? Try to search about it and get further details. Kanpur conspiracy case. Right? And also another interesting point about this Communist Party of India is in 1942, that is the Quit India movement, we can see almost all the parties contributing to Quit India movement except for Communist Party of India. Communist Party of India did not support Quit India movement, right? Communist Party of India did not support Quit India movement. Why it did not support? Because that movement was against Britishers. And at that time in the Second World War, Russia and British were fighting together, right? They were a team. They were allied powers. So that's why Communist Party of India did not support Quit India movement. It did not participate in Quit India movement. Right? This point also can be of use for us somewhere or the other. And Forward Bloc. There is a similar organization called Forward Bloc. Who formed this Forward Bloc? After Tripuri Congress session 1939, after Subhash Chandra Bose has resigned from the Congress session, he has formed this Forward Bloc. Right? He has formed this Forward Bloc. But this Forward Bloc was considered illegal by the Indian National Congress. After some months, this Forward Bloc was considered illegal by Indian National Congress itself. Right? So this was formed by Subhash Chandra Bose in the year 1939. Forward Bloc. Forward Bloc, yeah. And Shahid Swaraj and Bose Islands, guys, in the Andaman. Shahid Swaraj and Bose. That can also be a current affairs question also for you. Right? I guess 1.5 years back, Prime Minister has renamed 3 of the islands in Andaman and Nicobar into Shahid Swaraj and Bose Islands. Now the thing here is you need to know the original names of those islands, because that itself can be a match the following. Right? That itself can be a match the following. That is one thing. Second thing is arranging them north to south, arranging them east to west. That also can be an area where they can try to ask. Right? And Andaman and Nicobar Islands also was in the news for various reasons. Even it was in today's newspaper also, because a particularly vulnerable tribal group, they have got affected because of COVID. Right? So please refer all those with respect to Andaman and Nicobar. And regarding social reforms, another movement is Elava movement. EZHAVA. EZHAVA. Elava movement. This was started by Sri Narayana Guru. This is an anti-Brahmin movement. Right? This is an anti-Brahmin dominance movement. Anti-Brahmin dominance movement. This was started by Sri Narayana Guru. And this movement is Elava movement. EZHAVA MOVEMENT. Similar to Hinduism reform movements, we had Parsi reform also, right? Rast Goftar, we have discussed yesterday. Dadabhai Nauroji's paper. Similarly, in Islam religion also, we have these reform movements. Even in Muslim religion. Right? Three reform movements are there. Right? Devband movement, Fairazi movement, Aligarh movement, right? Please try to find what are those movements. All these are there in spectrum, guys. 4 to 5 pages, they have given everything. Try to remember as much as possible. Another important social reformer is Jyotiba Phule. Jyotiba Phule, right? And Jyotiba Phule was a social activist, is a social reformer, and is anti-caste social reformer. Right? Most of his works were criticism of the caste system. And he is from Maharashtra. 2 of his famous works of Jyotiba Phule are, one is Gulamgiri, right? One of the famous work of Jyotiba Phule is Gulamgiri. Second one is Sarvajanik Satyadharma Pustak. So these are the 2 works of Jyotiba Phule, and Elava movement is started by Sri Narayana Guru, right? And also another social reformer is known as Kerala Gandhi, right? Another social reformer is known as Kerala Gandhi. His name is Kelappan. His name is Kelappan. He is known as Kerala Gandhi. Just try to find about it. And another area is civil disobedience movement, Salt March. We have discussed about that, right? Civil disobedience movement, Salt March. What was that? That was a march from Sabarmati Ashram till Dandi to break the salt law. Gandhiji has handpicked 78 volunteers with him. Along with them, he has done that march. The thing here is, Gandhiji has done this salt march in the Gujarat. Similarly, in different coastal states, different personalities, important personalities have done this salt march. So try to find out who has done in which state, right? Who has done in which of the coastal states. Tamil Nadu also one personality has done. Andhra Pradesh also one personality has done, right? Karnataka also they have done. Just try to find, and they are famous personalities, guys, right? They are personalities who we know. So they have continued Gandhiji's salt march in different coastal states. So that can also be a question. Please try to find about that. The next thing is Aichison Commission. Aichison Commission. Aichison, AITCHISON, CHISON, AIT-CHISON, Aichison Commission. This Aichison Commission came in the year 1886. This is about increasing the Indian representation in civil services, right? Increasing the Indian representation in civil services. As I have told you, till 1853, Indian representation was not there, right? After the first war of independence only, Britishers have realized that Indianness of administration should be there. And from then, almost all the initiatives taken by Britishers, we can see Indianness increasing, right? Indian members increasing. So in that process only, in 1886, Aichison Commission was appointed, which recommended for increasing Indians in civil services. Increasing Indians in civil services. This is said to be one of the contribution of moderates to the Indian independence movement. This is said to be one of the contribution of moderates to the Indian independence movement. Because at that time, 1886, so just imagine 1885, Congress has formed. So who were dominant at that time? Moderates. Extremists came into picture only during the 1900s, right? So from 1885 till 1900s, it is moderates who played a major role, right? Through constitutional means, they used to try to ask for self-rule. So one of their contribution is this Aichison Commission. And self-respect movement. Who has initiated the self-respect movement? It is E.V. Ramaswamy Nayakar, Periyar. This was asked in last year prelims question, guys, right? E.V. Ramaswamy Nayakar, he has started this self-respect movement. Self-respect movement. And he also started an organization called Dravidar Kazhagam, right? Dravidar Kazhagam. Dravidar Kazhagam. And he also has run a magazine called Kudi Arasu. Kudi Arasu. KUDI-ARASU. Kudi Arasu. This was a magazine that was run by E.V. Ramaswamy Nayakar to propagate his ideas. Self-respect movement. And one viceroy has given a statement like this: the Congress is tottering to its fall. And one of my great ambitions while in India would be to assist it to a peaceful demise, right? One of the viceroy has given this statement that the Congress is tottering to its fall. And one of my great ambitions would be to assist it to a peaceful demise. Who has said this? Lord Curzon has said this, right? Lord Curzon has said this. This is a criticism for the Congress. This was said by Lord Curzon. And who was the viceroy at the time of formation of Congress? It was Lord Dufferin. Lord Dufferin, right? He was the viceroy. And similarly, please try to cover 1861 and 1892 Councils Act also, guys. So in these acts, we can see legislative councils being formed, number of Indians being taken into the councils increasing, budget discussing powers being given, right? Supplementary questions power being given to the Indians in the councils, right? To the Indians in the councils. Please refer those. And yeah, so the first Congress session, where did it happen and when did it happen? It happened in 1885. It happened in 1885. It happened in Bombay, right? It happened in Bombay, and it happened in a college called Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College. It happened in a college called Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College in Bombay in 1885. Who was the first president? It is W.C. Banerjee. It is W.C. Banerjee, Umesh Chandra Banerjee. W.C. Banerjee, he was the first president for INC, right? So these are some topics related to modern India, guys. So as we were discussing these topics, I have tried to give you the chronology also, right? So that flow would be useful for you in solving the questions. The trends, they will be useful definitely for you in solving the questions, right? So from tomorrow, we'll start with another subject. And if we see today's newspaper also, there are some important topics with respect to prelims. The first one is the Supreme Court judgment regarding subgroups among SC/ST reservations. And that you can see in today's headlines. And reservations is one such topic which was in news from the last 1 to 1.5 years, right? Either it is Maratha reservation case, or it is 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act, which brought reservation 10% to EWS, right? Or it is about Nagaraj judgment or creamy layer in SC/ST promotions, right? All these, reservation is not a fundamental right. So in this way, we had a number of Supreme Court judgments about reservations. So try to gather all the information about that, right? In one of the class, I have tried to cover exhaustively all the constitutional provisions related to reservations, right? Almost all the data is there in that video. Please refer that, right? And also if you get any extra information, do add it, guys, right? So that topic is important. Second thing is GST dues. GST dues to the states. Right? From 2 days, we can see that in the news, right? Because of COVID, the tax revenue is not much with the central government, because of which they are facing a difficulty in compensating the states. So that's where central government has given two options for the states. One is borrowing from RBI. Second is borrowing from the markets. So here, this issue is important for us, but more than the issue, what is GST Council, right? What is GST Council? Which constitutional amendment brought it? How are the voting powers in the GST Council, right? 1/3 for the center and 2/3 for the states. And for passing any decision in the GST Council, how much majority is required? 3/4 majority is required, right? These kind of things. Who are the members of the GST Council? Who is the chairman of the GST Council, right? All these things we have to know, right? Try to analyze this GST topic in that dimension. And CGST, SGST, IGST. What is the fourth component? GST cess. GST cess is imposed on exclusive products for collecting money which will be used to compensate the states. And for how many years the states will be compensated for GST? Try to find that also, right? Try to find that also. Yes, it is 5 years. And the third thing is Supreme Court judgment on religious matters. Puri Jagannath Yatra, and today we can see that Moharram proceedings, right? Moharram proceedings also, Supreme Court has given a judgment, verdict, saying whether it can be continued or not in the COVID time. Now here we can connect this to the reasonable restrictions in Article 25 and 26. What is Article 25? What is Article 26? They are freedom of religion rights, right? Freedom of religion rights. 25 is about freedom of an individual's religion. 26 is about group religion rights, right? 26 is about group religion rights. Now the reasonable restriction for both of these articles is public order, health and morality. Public order, health and morality. Right? So this issue should be seen with respect to reasonable restrictions. And even because of Sabarimala verdict also, these reasonable restrictions are important for us, right? We should be in a position to answer if there is a question saying which of the following are reasonable restrictions to so and so article. We should be ready to identify them, right? This is one area. And particularly vulnerable tribal groups, they were also in the news today, right, regarding Andaman. And 2 years back also, there was an incident which happened because of which a particular traveler died in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, right? He is a researcher. He's a researcher. He has died in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now, the thing is, we have to know all the particularly vulnerable tribal groups in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. 5 to 6 groups are there, right? Those 5 to 6 groups, we have to be careful about their names, at least their names, right? The 5 to 6 groups. So that is important. And particularly vulnerable tribal groups also, in 2019 prelims also, we had a question about particularly vulnerable tribal groups, right? So try to find out the statutory backing for these groups, the constitutional backing if there exists any, the different committees that were appointed for this particularly vulnerable tribal groups. There is another tribal group called denotified tribal groups, right? Denotified tribal groups. Try to find about them also. Right? So all these would be useful. And National Digital Health Mission and Digital ID for every Indian. Right? This was something which was said by our Prime Minister on the Independence Day. So that is also important for us. So there was an editorial article about this. Right? There was an editorial article. Please go through that article. And recently GST Council meeting has happened. In that GST Council meeting, some states have said that producer states are losing and consumer states are gaining. This was one of the statements said by some states. What was this? Producer states are losing and consumer states are gaining because of GST. Now, which are producer states, which are consumer states? Producer states means those states which are mostly producing, those states which have good manufacturing base, those states where industrial activity is more, right? They are called producing states. Consuming states means their industrial activity is not much, right? Sales are more there. Right? This is the difference between producing states and consumer states. Now, how is GST affecting this? GST is a destination based tax, right? It is a destination based tax. What is the meaning of destination based tax? At the final point, at the end point, GST will be imposed, not at the intermediate levels. So that's why consumer states means that is the end point, not the producing stage. That's why consuming states, they are getting more revenue out of GST compared to the producer states. And it is for these producer states, the compensation is given by the center in the form of GST compensation fund, right? So this is the story behind GST Council, guys. And India-Russia defense deals, they were also in today's newspaper, right? India-Russia defense deals, MiG-29 and Su-30, these two are the fighter jets, right? MiG-29 and Su-30, these two are the fighter jets which India is buying from Russia, and we are also buying choppers. They are Ka-31, they are the choppers we are buying from Russia. And most important deal, and the deal which made more news, S-400 deal. S-400, what is this S-400? We are buying it from Russia. It is a long range air defense system. It is a long range air defense system. This S-400 is also a part of multi-layer shield system for the National Capital Territory region. For the NCT, we have discussed this before itself. We have different layers of anti-missile systems to protect the NCT from missiles. So S-400 is also one of the part of that multi-layer protection for NCT. And self-reliance in defense sector, that topic is important, guys. We have seen number of initiatives that the government has taken in the last year. Even the recent Prime Minister statement, what was it? India can be a weapons supplier. This is what Prime Minister has said. India can be weapons supplier. Number of initiatives were taken, right? 74% is the FDI for defense sector, right? That we have to know. Recently, it was increased from 49 to 74%. And corporatization of Ordnance Factory Board, that is also being done. Industrial corridors are being brought in UP and Tamil Nadu. Chief of Defense Staff was created based on which committee's recommendations? Naresh Chandra committee recommendations, right? We have discussed about another committee, Shekatkar committee, right? Refer that also. And OEM, original equipment manufacturer. Who is an OEM? Try to find about that, right? Intellectual property related schemes, innovation related schemes in defense sector. We have a scheme called Mission Raksha Jnana Shakti. Mission Raksha Jnana Shakti. And there is a platform called IDEX, Innovation for Excellence in Defense Manufacturing. IDEX. This is for promoting innovation in defense manufacturing, right? This is also there. And the most recent initiative in the month of May, that is Defense Procurement Procedure 2020, right? The procurement procedure has been changed. What are some initiatives? Buy Global, Make India. That was one new category that was added. We have discussed this before. And leasing as an option, right? Not buying and making only, but leasing. That is taking defense equipments for rent. That was also introduced as a new option. And South China Sea disputes, Paracel Islands, freedom of navigation exercise by US, recent PASEX exercise by India and US together in the Indian Ocean region. All these are important. 9-dash line of China. UNCLOS, US is not a member of UNCLOS treaty, right? That we have to know. And different disputed islands between China and Philippines, China and Vietnam, China and Japan, right? The names of those islands, Sparkly Islands, Paracel Islands, right? All these islands we have to know. And 4 seas were mentioned in today's paper. 4 seas where China is showing its dominance. They are Bohai Sea, B-O-H-A-I, Bohai Sea, Yellow Sea, East China Sea and South China Sea, right? These are different seas names that were mentioned in today's paper. And Turkey-Greece issue. That is also an important issue, right? Turkey-Greece border issue. Turkey-Greece border issue. That is also an important issue, right? In Mediterranean Sea, Turkey is saying that it will start military drills. And we have seen refugee crisis also between Turkey and Greece. That is important for us. And in the business page, we can see India-ASEAN economic ties article. India-ASEAN economic ties article. In that article, two important terms were mentioned. One is rules of origin and the second one is non-tariff barriers. One is rules of origin and the second is non-tariff barriers. Please try to find out what are these, right? And this rules of origin is one of the reasons why we have stepped back from RCEP also, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership.